Take two. Apologies for anyone who watched that last video. Someone called me and we broke the video apart. So here it is again. A lower back release or reset for anyone that spends long days at the desk or suffers from lower back stiffness and tightness. Now this is super useful for those that want to be able to integrate this sort of stuff back into their training to get them back to activity, and it might give you a bit of relief and take some of that focus off your lower back. Now, we go to the physio, we go to a massage therapist and we get our lower back massaged out, and we go on our merry way, and then our lower back stiffness or tightness reoccurs. Purely because we're going back to doing the old things we used to be doing, and we were treating the problem or the presentation of the problem and not the cause. So this reset focuses on trunk stability, glute activation, and hip extension, which are some of the common causes to making a tight lower back. So we're going to start off, much to everyone's happiness, in a laying position. We're going to go through some crocodile breathing. So breathing into the belly and breathing out nice and slowly. So by breathing into the belly, we're functioning our diaphragm, and that is allowing us to create trunk stability in movements. So breathing in through the nose, into the belly, breathing out. So we're going to crocodile breathe for about 2 to 3 minutes, and we're just going to reset that breathing cycle. While we're here, we're going to go into a psoas release. Now we're going to do a bit of trigger point using this little ball here to hopefully release some of the muscles around our lower back and our QL of our lower back, to help free a bit of movement up to apply the rest of the correctives and then be able to integrate back in our training. So an inch beside your belly button, you're going to roll over onto that ball. From here, you're going to breathe into the belly again. And on the breath out, you're going to arch up. And then you're going to lower down. Breathe in, breathe out, arch up, and pull forward a little bit with those elbows. You're then going to come back down, and this third time, we're going to breathe in, breathe out, arch up, pull forward, leg up on the side we've got the ball. And the idea is to push into that ball and try and release that psoas. Now you're going to create that and repeat that for as many times as you need. And then you're going to switch it and do it on the other side. You're then going to come over and do QL release. So that muscle beside your spine and the lower back, you're going to lay on top of that ball. Now if you come onto your spine, you've come too far, so make sure you're over on the side of the QL, and you're simply going to move across that ball, back and forth. If it's nice and tender, you're going to stop, and you're just going to breathe into that ball. Breathing into the belly, and just letting that relax as time goes on. 2 to 3 minutes, you should feel an effect. And you're just going to move across the ball when you feel comfortable enough and release that QL. Now don't worry, there is a full instruction we're going to be released over the next couple of days to show you all the little tidbits about all these movements, so don't stress if you miss them. The next one's our glute release. So the top of your back pocket on your jeans, you're going to wedge that ball in there, and you're simply going to conduct some clam shells. Once you find that trigger point, that is. Some clam shells, some kicks, and then some pivots on top of that ball. And you're going to be here for 2 to 3 minutes as well. Once that releases, you'll switch sides and try the other side as well. You might notice some different tightness levels on each side, and that's good. So we're understanding the asymmetries and where our restrictions lie. The next, we're going to start with a little bit of glute activation work. Now that comes from sitting all day. When we sit on our glutes, they switch off. So we're going to start into a clamshell position. We can get a band across these knees to also help emphasize that activation, and we're going to be conducting some clamps. Now the tip here is to go until you're warm. You feel that glute activate if you're doing it right, and you keep moving until you're warm. You're then going to switch sides and do the other side. Now with all of this stuff, you go until you feel the response, you go until you feel that change in the tissue, or the range increase, or that muscle activate, that nice warm sensation when you do those clamshells, and you repeat that as much as you need until you feel confident to go to the next stage. Now with anyone with pre-existing back condition or injuries, make sure you're clear to do this stuff. By starting from a floor to standing approach though, you're nice and safe, and most of this should be able to be completed with a relative amount of comfort. We're then going to go into some double leg glute bridges. So depending on your level, you're going to start here, both feet on the ground, glutes driving up off the floor. You are then, if you want to ramp that up, you can get a ball, pin that to your stomach with the opposite foot, and driving up off the floor here in a single leg bridge. So that allows you to change it up a bit, look at your asymmetries between both sides, and adjust as appropriate. So if you notice one side's tighter than the other, dig into it, find out why. The next up, we're going to do a bit of trunk stability. So we're going to do some roller rotations, pinning this roller in between the legs and not letting it go, and having those palms facing up on the floor, keeping the shoulders in contact with the floor now. You're going to rotate to each side, only to the point where that shoulder stays in contact with the floor. Now this is a bit of dynamic stability training for your shoulders as well. By keeping the shoulders in contact with the floor, you are maintaining a bit of shoulder stability and starting off some elementary rolling patterns that helps increase our positional awareness and core control between upper and lower body. So that's a really good exercise to do to activate trunk stability and remove a bit of that lower back stiffness. We're then going to roll into a simple dead bug here. So forcing lower back into the floor, opposite arm and leg, lowering down like so. Keeping that lower back forced into the floor is the key here. The moment it peels up, you've gone too far. So if you can't go all the way down, restrict your range. You can see here I'm talking as I'm moving because I'm quite comfortable here. So there's a dead bug. We can then bring it up into quadruped. Now, going from a floor to standing approach, like we've already mentioned, is a super easy way to stay safe, not put your lower back at any risks, and then we can also integrate our other levels of training as we pass through the gate. So if there's any pain, we don't progress, we take our time, and eventually we take a step up from floor to standing until we're back up, standing, unloading our squats, our lunges, our deadlifts and things like that. So our quadruped position, we are going to pull those hands towards the body by getting a bit of purchase on the floor, and we're going to pull into that squat position. Now you can see I'm making that squat range in a nice safe position. So if we do have any lower back stiffness, we're not adding weight and we're not even in standing, so it's nice and safe here. And the idea is not to let that back round, but to keep in an active position and pull in with our hips, getting a bit of traction through the hands, pulling back towards ourselves and pulling into that squat movement. And don't forget to breathe. So breathing into our belly and pulling into the movement. Okay, and the final one we have here is another roller-based activity that's super useful, and that's our bird dog. So we're going to use a roller to help us maintain that nice neutral spine and stability throughout. And we extend opposite hand and opposite foot to full elbow and knee extension. And then we switch sides. Then we come back down and we're simply alternating position like so. And there's your reset, guys. So from here, if we've gone through the motions and we've freed up a little bit of that lower back stiffness, we can then go to our half kneeling, we can start lunging, we can start bodyweight squatting if the pain is dissipated and we're comfortable and safe in that position. So this is super useful for anyone that sits all day, anyone that suffers lower back stiffness and tightness. I hope you get something out of it. Feel free to post any questions in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Have a great afternoon.